Hello and welcome back to the Husqvarna 2000 here, or the otherwise known as the Viking 6000 series or 6300 series, I think, in the UK and the US. You may have seen the video where I do an assessment and sort of a buyer's guide on this machine, and in that video you would have seen that some of the controls here are a little bit seized up. You know, the reverse is seized and the buttonhole engaging mechanism is also seized. So I was just going to do a video showing you how I unseize these, and generally it just takes some CRC or WD-40 penetrating oil to start with, and then maybe just a little bit of mild heat, even just well, my plan is to sit it in front of the fire tonight. You can give it a little bit of a helping hand with the likes of a hairdryer or a heat gun or something like that, but you do have to be very careful not to overheat parts and melt them or cause issues. What I'll do to start with is I'll show you the buttonhole mechanism here. Now when that's set to 0 on the dial here, that's your stitch width dial, so zigzag width, so that's 4 up there down to 0 here. You should be able to pull this dial out here, and it is coming out, but it's very tight, and nothing, you can't turn it. There's other areas in here that the parts are seized up as well. So I think the machine's been sitting for a little bit. So let's have a wee work away on that just to get the penetrating oil in the right place there. So if we have a look side on, and if you want to know how to get to this point where you've got the panels off the machine, take a look at the assessment / buyer's guide video I've done on the Husqvarna 2000, the Viking 6000 series. Try and get a good angle on this. If I pull this here, you can see this plastic piece here moving. So there's a shaft that runs right through here. I think if we get penetrating oil onto that, that'll be a good start. It's not overly warm here today. I don't have any heating on. It's probably about, I don't know, 15 degrees Celsius maybe, if that. It's a crummy old day, rainy day outside. So quite a nice day to sit in and work on sewing machines. I don't want to go sort of dousing too much oil around here. Do have to think about the motor here. Definitely don't want to get any oil on the motor. I think I can probably target this. I might wrap something over there just as an extra protection, a rag of some sort. Just don't want any oil getting on the electrics there. I'm just going to lie that over there. We definitely don't want any oil getting on the drive belts or anything like that. So let's cover that there. Then it's just a matter of having a good look here to see what is a good angle. Yeah, I'm going to get in underneath here. I think a good angle is from underneath, sort of up on this angle here. We want to get oil up into this area here. Just going under here. Get a little bit in the front here as well, just in behind here. This whole knob here can come off, but once you take that off, it's difficult to turn the shaft once you get this bead up, and you can't pull that easily. So I'm just going to try and get a bit of penetrating oil into there. You don't really need a lot, it goes a long way. Yeah, that's freer already. And I think, you know, with a little bit of heating, even just to room temperature. I mean, in some of the manuals I've noticed that I think it's the Bernina manuals, they actually say in the manual, get the machine, or is it the Husqvarna's? They say get the machine up to room temperature, And you know, I think room temperature is probably considered around about 18 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, sorry. I guess if it's the middle of winter, as long as you've got a heated house, you should be fine. But yeah, that is engaging, but I still can't turn this here to step through the buttonhole steps. So there's something else that needs freeing there. But that's certainly a lot easier. So I'll work on getting that buttonhole freed up now. I think I've figured out what's going on here. So we're in the position where we should be able to pull this out here to engage. So this plastic piece here with this little cutout should engage with, and it's quite hard to see down there, that metal lug down there. But you can see that it's out of sync. So you know that needs turning to engage this lug with the metal piece here, but now I can't pull the engaging lever out. So that can only be pulled out when it's in the 0 position, like that. So I think what has to happen, so it's gone out of sync here, is that this whole piece here, this metal piece here, actually turns and runs a couple of cams here with a couple of followers to do the buttonholing. I think I just need to turn this cam back into position and allow those two to mesh again. There we go. I managed to get it. It wasn't too difficult really. All I really had to do is get a screwdriver and manually turn. There's a couple of wee notches on this cam here, and I just manually turned this piece here. So I just turned it until the metal piece here, I'm in the 0 position, this metal lug here lined up with this plastic cutout here. So they mate together. When you're in the 0 position and you pull the lever out, the knob out, it just engages, and then you know everything as far as the buttonholing is concerned is working as expected. Well, as far as I can see it is. I'll need to do some testing to make sure that is all lined up, but there's only one place that can go. There's only one lug, so can't get that wrong, and that's nice and free there now. So I'll get some oil into there and just get that more permanent sort of lubricant into there. So the next thing is this reversing problem, and if we have a look here, we've got stitch length. You can see you know, on 0 you wouldn't expect to be able to push that in anyway, but as you work up the stitch length there, you would expect to be able to reverse, and you can see that it's just sort of falling out there, and that's because I think it's actually stuck in reverse. Yeah, it is. If I turn the machine I can tell that it's stuck in reverse. So what's happened is the reverse, when the reverse has been activated, it's stayed there and just the knob is falling out, so the mechanism's actually jammed. Well, yeah, more than likely it'll be just a matter of getting lubrication into the reversing mechanism, and I think I know where to start there. Let's have a wee look around the back here. This is a little bit difficult to see because of this linkage here is in the way, but there's a posi here. I can put my finger on the actual reversing mechanism under here, and if I move that up, I'll get you a closer look at this in a second as well. I can actually move the reversing mechanism up and down, but it's very tight. So that's tight there. That's really hard to turn. So lubrication required down on the shaft that this runs on. Let's get a little bit of penetrating oil there. And then work away at that, and again that might need a bit of heating, but not sure. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's feeling better. Yeah, I think I'll leave this in front of the fire tonight, just for that, and it gives it a little bit of time overnight too for the penetrating oil just to sort of get right into the bearing there. Now that the buttonhole controls have unseized, we can check this other area here, and this is responsible for the zigzagging. That feels okay, it's a little bit tight. I'll get some penetrating oil onto that, just either side of that sort of bearing there. So just in the back here and in the front, and just bear in mind that once, before I go putting this machine back together, I'll get oil into these spots as well, so that's more of a long-term lubricant. Okay, now that we've got the buttonhole selector unseized, we can check to see whether this positioning here is freed. So not only does that give you zigzag, but this whole carriage here moves, and I can tell that's quite tight to move. It's not doing what it should. Yeah, I can see that that's returning freely, not as free as it should be already. So again, I will let that soak, sit it in front of the fire tonight. Hopefully next time you see that, it will be nice and free. Okay, back again. It's actually a couple of days later. The first night I left the machine in front of the fire, not too close. You don't want it to be so close that it's going to damage parts. But I just had it a little distance away. It was just warming up to room temperature, and the reverse button here certainly improved. So at the end of the evening it was reasonably free. Still wasn't as free as I wanted it to be, but again, when I came back in the morning it had cooled down again. It was a little bit tighter again. So that's something to look for when you do this sort of thing, is that it might feel free when it's warm, but you really need to let it cool down again to a lower temperature. And I see a lot more of this sort of thing in the winter here. The next day, that was still a little bit stiff. I got more penetrating oil into there. The zigzag is working fine. So this is the needle position. So that positions the needle in the, to the left or to the right or to the center of the hole, and that's used in buttonholing. And also if you're sewing zips, you can put the needle off to one side, and that's that mechanism there, nice and free now. And you can see the reversing mechanism is working nicely. So what I did the day after was I actually got more lubricant into there, and I installed this cam, and I put the back cover back on because I was powering the machine up, so I didn't want any of this exposed and accidentally touch anything in here. So put the back cover on, plugged the power cable in, installed this cam, and actually instead of manually sort of working away at this, what I did was I employed this cam to do the work for me, and I put it into a stretch stitch, which makes the machine go reverse every it goes forward 2 stitches and then back 2 stitches, forward 2 stitches, another 2, back 2. So 2 steps forward, 2 back, 2 forward, 2 forward, 2 back. And I just ran the machine at a high speed for quite some time, and that just helped to work in the penetrating oil into there. So that's nice and free there now. And I've also oiled the parts as well, so I've sort of followed them up with oil rather than leaving the penetrating oil in there. Wherever we look here, the buttonhole feature is working well now. So just only takes a gentle pull to pull that out. That's all working fine, and I can see by the needle positioning there that buttonhole is going to work fine. The only way to really properly check that is to put all the covers back on, thread the machine up, and do some testing. But I think that's fine. So that's all the parts that were seized on this machine. That's all those freed up. It's ready for testing now. So I won't do the testing on this in this video, and because I do have another job to fix the take-up lever drive. It's a crank slide that's broken. yeah, I hope you found that helpful, and thank you very much for watching.